it was an argument to make before that we were experiencing a corporate techno-fascism, right? And now it is appearing that we don't even have to like put the pieces together and like make an argument for it. It's actually just sort of right out there in your face. Chris, were you ever a libertarian? And what is your take? What is your take on the way that this is challenging libertarian concepts and people's reaction to it?
Well, I will admit it. I got to be honest. I did at one time consider myself a libertarian, and look back on it with a certain sense of embarrassment about it, because I think what happens with a lot of people in big cities who might be conservative, but they live in DC or New York or San Francisco or Seattle, it's very comfortable to be a libertarian because you say, well, I'm a libertarian. I'm not one of the right wingers. It's an identity niche that I think, because it's non-threatening to liberals, because they know libertarians' political power. It's kind of like a cute affectation that you can have that is a safe identity. I think even I probably unconsciously at the time kind of fell into that for some of those reasons. But I think the libertarians, especially in the last few years, have just been on the wrong side of every issue. They're on the wrong side of big tech. They're on the wrong side of CRT. They're on the wrong side of vaccine passports. It's like libertarians have lost a basic sense of what human liberty is for. They've kind of retreated to a set of orthodoxies that end up actually, they sound superficially libertarian, but they end up actually supporting this establishment authority, whether it's the right of public school teachers to shove CRT down the throats of kindergartners, or the right of tech monopolies to silence, censor, and exclude people based on their political views from the new public square, or whether it's something like Robbie, who I like. I think he's a very nice guy. But there's nothing less libertarian than a vaccine passport. It's like it's almost like the acrobatics that it takes to even justify that on libertarian grounds is absolutely astonishing. And I think it's really just boils down to, well, this is convenient and this is cool. And I think what I've learned about a certain set of, let's call them center-right liberals or center-right libertarians, center-left liberals, this kind of centrist clique in the middle of our politics that we see, especially on Twitter, is that they want all the benefits, the social and prestige benefits of appearing to be a contrarian, but they're contrarians that actually don't take any risks. They don't take any positions that would actually transgress elite orthodoxies. So what they have is this kind of perfect posture, nothing more than a posture that is neighborhood cachet. It's transgression without transgression. It's kind of the appearance of it. And I think libertarians are very helpful for all of us in that sense, because they kind of mark the line of respectability. And then they give us a sense of what line we need to cross in order to venture into the unrespectable, which I think is essential at this time to cross that line.
Indeed. And I think, James, you've done a great job of obliterating the sense of respectability, especially with your discourse. And, we hadn't had a chance to talk since you really took that initiative on Twitter. I got to say, I commend you for it 100% for just going out there and putting the balls out there, just throwing it all out there. It doesn't matter. We have to break all those rules of respectability and all the confinements of, proper language and how to talk about things and whatever else. And so I commend you for that. I was right there with you, and I appreciate that type of exercise, James. So for anybody out there who was thinking that he was crazy, he definitely was not, except for the Cathys and you-know-who's and all those people out there.
Well, dude, you need to thank the critical race theorists for this, partly at least. There are other, I just am what I am. I'm not going to change, but can't stop, won't stop.
Right.
But the fact is that I realized that respectability was something that the woke left, if we want to call them that, is manipulating to a very effective and very powerful degree, was in reading their own literature about respectability politics. They're always complaining about, this respectability politics. And what they're saying is oh, well, you won't let us use emotion. You won't let us throw a fit, blah, blah, blah. You tell us we have to be civil. We have to make arguments. We have to present evidence. We have to do all these, responsible things. Responsibility is white supremacy culture. That's just respectability, politics, blah, blah, blah. And I have adopted a very, controversial view, but I believe that the vast majority of what I read in the critical literature is projection. It is almost all confession, iron law of woke projection. I say it all the time. There's so much there. So you start thinking, how could this possibly be projection? Maybe you're wrong and maybe it's not, but how do you just look at it for, a day? How could this be projection? And then you realize they're utterly obsessed with making sure their opponents stay within the respectability sphere, that they don't say anything too wild, they don't say anything too crazy, they don't ever fearmonger. And what kinds of things do they go berserk about on Twitter that don't seem to, of course they go berserk if you say certain things, but there are some things that it doesn't make sense that they go berserk about. And it's like they're giving you some clues, and they want everybody that's opposed to them to stay respectable and in this kind of like both hands tied behind their back and one of their legs cut off position, while they get to just go berserk and do whatever. And if you call them out on their going berserk, you're enforcing your respectability politics on us. Well, of course, they're just telling you how they think. They're obsessed with making sure their opponents stay in the sphere of respectability. And I don't think we need to go too wild. There is an art to being wild here. But you do have to not be bound by that. It is a set of chains they are putting on people. They have the respectable opinion. They have to look smart. They have to do what Chris was kind of referring to. I've called it for a number of years, the centrist virtue signal. Like you have to like both sides it a little bit. Like, yeah, well, the right wing is also crazy, blah, blah, blah. You have to give the little centrist virtue signal while it's just a set of chains that they are very effective at putting on their opponents so that they can't fight back effectively.
Indeed. Chris, are you shackled by respectability these days, sir?
I don't know. You guys will have to tell me. I mean, I try to approach the issues substantively. I try not to provoke just for the sake of provoking. But I think that if you read the press coverage about me in the last few months, certainly I am poking these people right in the eye. I mean, even the Washington Post had published 10 articles in the past 2 months singling me out by name and attacking me. Which is a lot. And I think that the reason is because, as James is talking about, I'm going right at one of their soft spots, one of their I'm going right after them in a very direct manner. And I think what James is talking about is that they're forcing people to attack them around the edges, to attack them with the kind of gloves off or with the both sides kind of touch on it. And whereas I've gone just straight at it, and I've used many of their own techniques. So I've used Gramscian techniques. I've used kind of critical techniques. I've used the linguistic techniques of critical pedagogy. And you turn them against their own ideology, and then use their language of subversion to subvert their own concepts. And I think James is more versed than Hegel, but I think this would be the negation of the negation. That Marcuse famously talks about. And I think that this has just made them insane. And James and I have been really tag teaming on this because James is really the theory expert. I mean, James is an encyclopedia of theory, connecting all the dots, laying out the case, creating this great content to guide all of us into this world. And then I think I come in as a complement to what James is doing, really following his lead with the praxis or the practice, which is translating the theory into the realm of practical politics, and then translating this kind of esoteric knowledge into knowledge that, that school moms and school dads can use at school board meetings and hammer their school boards with. And I think that together we've really done something that I think hasn't been done before to this extent, and this is starting to be recognized by many people. Yes. That we are going after them at the theoretical foundations and going after them in a direct front-on attack that is working, that is demonstrating results, that is making accomplishments. And we're not getting lost in the web of status seeking and kind of prestige hoarding, where a lot of the people online are really They're having political arguments in order to cement their own identity, in order to cement their own status, in order to get accolades and popularity. And what James and I have done to a large degree together is we've actually chalked up victories. So James and I testify before state legislatures. James and I advise parents that are getting this out of school boards. And now we have 9 states have banned critical race theory in public schools. That's protecting about 75 million citizens. And we have now laws introduced in the House, in the Senate, aren't going to pass now, but when there's a change of power, they will pass. And then we've had school boards getting overturned all over the country. Even in I live in deep blue Washington State, and I saw the news yesterday. That I wasn't involved in it, but actually the school board voted 5-0 in my local area in Washington State to ban critical race pedagogies from the district. So this is a movement that is not merely about kind of posturing or kind of intramedia fighting. This is actually about getting results and actually pushing back against the supporters of these theories in a way that actually wins. And I think that's what's really made them go insane and attack both James and me.